Hi, everybody. This is James Nussbaumer, and I am really glad to be here and talking to you tonight. Speaking of a golf round today with my old pal from a lot of years, Dirty Mike, about the same age as me. Why he's called Dirty Mike? The best thing I can say is that he used to race dirt bikes, and it's a secret that I'll never give away other than that. But anyways, while I was out there playing golf, judgment-free on the golf course. That's why I love golf. It's just filled with tremendously good people. And I'm standing there on the 18th hole getting ready to make a 5-footer, a little right to left or downhill. 5 foot might not seem like much, but this was a tricky putt. And there was 4 of us, and I was to sink this putt to beat my pal, my good old competitor, Dirty Mike. And I was lining up my putt, plumb dobbing it, and in the tree nearby, everything was quiet. I heard a bird chirping. Chirp, chirp, a little bird. And I just immediately thought to myself, I think that bird's trying to tell me that I'm going to make birdie here on this hole, because I was putting for birdie. And I decided to quit thinking and quit trying to analyze this putt to death and just get up there and put a nice stroke on the ball. And wouldn't you know, it went in the hole. Just a beautiful putt to win the match. But, then I get home and, a blog post was sent to my email inbox, a critical review against my book, The Master of Everything. It was a blog written by a critic who very much chastised myself and a few others. One in particular, a female who the woman that wrote the blog was a female, and she had very greatly placed a lot of judgment on another female who's very popular in spiritual enhancement. I don't want to mention any names because I don't want to get involved in this judgment that's going on. And she just really laid into her in her blog post and really gave her just a very judgmental review. So, judgment. Isn't the world just full of judgment? And isn't that what really makes us nervously tread water? When we're judging all the time, aren't we just in fear of something that's going on within ourselves? And then, then we try to say, well, maybe I should defend my stance on that and whatever. No, it doesn't matter, because, it's human nature to judge. And when we can see ourselves beyond human nature, that's when we can learn that judgment really doesn't mean anything. Even when we're being judged, we can't take it seriously, because if we look beyond those thoughts they have of us to where they're really about, we're forgiving that person and we're forgiving the judgment. Anyways, this particular video is taken from where I've interpreted in chapter 11, which is God or the Ego, chapter 11 of the text, A Course in Miracles, my old raggedy version. If you know me, you know where this came from. But just take it from chapter 11, where I've kind of put together a video and little clips from my book as well. But it's from section 3 and section 4, From Darkness to Light, and the inheritance of God's Son. And that may not make any sense to you right now, but just let me go on. And when I was talking about, when we judge, we think that we are doing ourselves a favor or the world a favor, but are we really? No, we're not. And really what we're really doing is treading water. We're trying to fight our own ego. And let me go back and give you a little story about where I was at when I once felt I was nervously treading water and watching my boat sinking very fast, and without a life preserver, I could no longer swim against the current. My world was going down like the Titanic due to my own seemingly deadly errors. I was turning 50, and I felt anchored to the bottom of the lake and just lost for air. For many years, a transformation had been urging a shift in me, but out of fear, I resisted. I chose to remain in the thick fog of things and thinking I was safer there. I felt as though I couldn't find my peace, So I tried on the weird belief that I could make something of myself that I was not really meant to be. Well, that was until the summer of 2007, when this overdue transformation seemed to take charge by forcing its way through the obscurity I had spent so much energy maintaining. The jolt, to say the least, gained my attention. As I see it now, this was the beginning of an undoing process that would eventually set me free. This undoing entailed the gradual, ongoing obliteration of a man-made thought system I had been buying into for most of my adult life. Later, I would learn that the parts I believed were dying in me had never really existed at all. I would learn my beliefs were nothing but an illusion, and that what is unreal surely does not live. But at the time, I felt myself drowning in a sea of disbelief, confusion, and terror. An indictment had been issued by the grand jury of the state of Ohio for a foolish securities violation against me, and I pled guilty and went on to prison. Most of you know the story about that. And if you don't, it's contained in my book, The Master of Everything, A Story of Mankind and the World of Illusion We Call Life, by Ozark Mountain Publishing Company. But and I was soon to be arrested for a selfish mistake I had made through my business practice as a financial advisor. After 25 years in business, is how many years I was in that line of work, one might think that I would have known better, wouldn't you think? Well, my actions were not part of a Ponzi scheme, which was going on at that time period. There was abuse in the industry going on all over the world, and so I was kind of like labeled as one of those. But my actions were not part of a Ponzi scheme, but more of a brash mishandling of money of 3 clients, totaling approximately $100,000, and I was sentenced to 10 years in prison, and the money had been totally repaid. Yeah, you read that right. It was $100,000. Yes, it was $100,000, not millions of hundreds or thousands or whatever. However, the funds were my responsibility, and tough times had left my bottom line near empty, so I did not really have the ability to repay the money right away. But it took a little time, and after I went to prison, I was able to get some help from other people who came through and helped me, and we got this paid for. We got her done, as someone says. And, you know, but the point of it all, I promised the judge that I could get this paid within months, but that's still, the judge on the bench who handed me down the 10-year sentence, it still didn't matter to him. The whole point of what I had done had angered the example setter judge and the prosecutor, and I went to prison. Well, to this day, it still seems like a dream, or should I say a nightmare. Going to prison is not an easy ordeal, and it's not easy to live with, and I surely never wish it on anyone. The authorities seized all of my material possessions, or what was left of them, and I was left penniless. All that was left of me is what seemed to be a vacant mind. And I use the word vacant because the material world that had led me, or had consumed me, I should say, rather, a better choice of words, that had consumed me for my entire life, had just vanished in an instant. I had received terrible legal advice from a lawyer who was ill-equipped to be honest enough about my case, and was no match for the well-polished prosecutor and judge who wanted me to be known as tough. He set an example, all right, by dishing me out, like I had said, 10 years in prison, where I ended up would serve 8 years. After I was given my sentence, a lump rose in my throat as a guard snapped handcuffs on my wrists. My lawyer gave me a wink and a nod, then whispered into my ear that he should be able to get me an early release, but the money needed to be right, he'd said. So he added in his best salesman voice that my adult daughters, should sell my home on the lake, and quickly, very quickly, that they should get it sold. He said a realtor would not be necessary, and as he had an associate who would handle the whole deal, and everything would be worked out okay. He figured there might be some equity left before the seizure and garnishments were ordered, and oh, it was just a nightmare. His words did not come close to rescuing me from the nausea that the fall of the gavel had produced in me. Reality slammed down hard, but my lawyer was right in that I would be eligible for an early release, and this was a tiny bit of something to hang on to. Only it got worse. I later found out that I would not be eligible until I completed 5.5 years in prison. As it turned out, I ended up spending 8 years, 8 long years. And worse again, from prison, 6 months later, I read the front page news about my lawyer's death due to a cocaine overdose. I had no idea he was having substance abuse problems. It seems he was found face down in the winter snow of his backyard, just dead from an overdose. Searching for a new lawyer from prison would not be a very easy task at all unless I could get some outside help. But I had plenty of time to try to get the help. But out of the people in my life, only a few had stuck with me. And those few that stuck by me, continue to encourage me with their support. The others just continue with their judgment towards me. The others have chosen not to do so, and for those, I don't even try to understand or make sense of it. You know, in prison, it is often said, once you are sent here, you will find out quickly who your true family and friends are. But, you know, and isn't that judgment in itself right there too? Sure it is. But many once loved ones, they shy away when someone goes to prison. They all have their reasons, whatever it might be, but it's sad and it really hurts. I don't mean this as an attack or an accusation toward anyone. It is merely a fact of life for a group of individuals who become destitute by being imprisoned. We are always prisoners. I mean, when I was there, we were always, and there's men that are still there because many of them I served life sentences. We were always extremely thankful for a shoulder to lean on or cry on or to hug, or for a good-spirited mind who may write a letter from the outside. Maybe a family member might just write a letter and say, hey, is there anything I can do to help? Those words seem to be hard for many people to do. But for those who have remained behind me and for their support, I am eternally grateful. The words that I have in this book, The Master of Everything, is about prison and life, but also about the life of the imprisonment much of the outer world lives in, with the world itself as our jailer. If the world doesn't jail us, then often we do it to ourselves. It seems we have preferred bondage over freedom, but more important, this book right here, The Master of Everything, is about forgiveness, the overlooking of errors, going beyond the darkness to the light, so we can release ourselves from the prison we made that binds us. Forgiveness does indeed grant freedom. Yes, it does. I'm not talking about the brave fronts that we often put on and when we stand over someone and say, you should be glad I'm forgiving you, that kind of an attitude. No, and I'm not talking about that one, and I'm not talking about when we run around telling people that we forgive them and how much we love them. No, the forgiveness I'm talking about is not toward any certain individual or groups of people we may feel that have harmed us. I'm talking about forgiving yourself first, by overlooking the illusions you and much of the world live by. Looking beyond these illusions of untruths that we all bank on most of our days, looking beyond these illusions or these untruths is the answer to peace, and that is where real love exists. The bondage I just mentioned can only be our unforgiving mind. That's the prison cell we live in, is our unforgiving mind. The prison cell is the area in our mind where we pass judgment towards others. For myself, It has been a mind full of fear and unanswered questions. You know, a continuous state of turmoil and misery always seems to just be around the corner, which is where it was with me. Sure, I was trying to hide my fear and hide from it in fear. But, you know, was I really hiding at all? No, it seemed as though danger was always lurking nearby, ready to grab me. And, you know, and that's what led me to my downfall. But the unforgiving world, which helped us make the mind that we only think is who we are, the body that we think is who we are, sees no mistakes or errors, but only sees sins. It sees us as sinful, and therefore we feel the need to judge so we can make others more sinful than we are. We want to judge so you are more sinful than I am. We think that frees us, but it really doesn't. It only imprisons us more. It has eyes that see through dark glasses and want to live, yet wishes it were dead. This mind wants forgiveness, but yet it sees no hope. It doesn't know how to forgive other than claiming or passing more judgment. It doesn't know how to escape and can't figure out that the prison cell we all live in is not locked at all. The door slides open with our own true free will. And our own true free will is that part of us beyond judgment. It's that part of us where we live the life we truly want without worry of failure, without worry of loss, without worry of someone else must lose so I can win, without worry of any kind of judgment at all. When we can let go of all that, the prison door slides wide open. And there is where we experience our own true free will. I will devote the rest of my writing in the sequels, in addition to this book right here, The Master of Everything, to explaining to you how to slide that open door, slide open that door and walk through free, as a free person, free to live the life that you want. If you check out some of my other videos, that's what my other videos are about, that are claiming, that are helping people see the light in them. So I hope this makes sense. And it really urged me to bring on this video and pass on these words to me based on, like I told you in the beginning, the blog that I had read that just thoroughly attacked a well-meaning, very famous, popular person out there in the world that writes along the same lines as I do. And like I said, I can't mention any names because it's not necessary. And I'm not passing any judgment towards that blog that that person wrote, but I can only say that, you know, I forgive it, because as I was reading that blog post, that derogatory, judgmental blog post that this person wrote, as I was reading the words, I could just overlook them and see beyond the light to who that person really is, beyond those words that they were putting down there that they really didn't mean to the core of who they are. That's what forgiveness is. And if we can do that, when we stand over 5-foot putts to beat our friend on the golf course and win the match, we can easily knock in the putt. Thank you for listening to me, and God bless you.